Welcome everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Dylan Bradshaw. We come on here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. A sixth place finish for Kyle Larson at Martinsville on Sunday. We will talk about that in a little bit. But first and foremost, we have the championship four finally set for this weekend's race at Phoenix. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, graphic up on the screen. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney, the four drivers that will compete for the NASCAR Cup Series championship this Sunday at Phoenix. Dylan, what do you think of this group of drivers, and how do you think Kyle will fare on Sunday?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough lineup. It's a very young championship four. Larson's actually the oldest contender in the four. He's at 31 years old, and Bell and Blaney are making their first championship four appearance. So, or no, is it Byron and Bell?
Byron and
Yeah,
Blaney,
yeah,
their first
Blaney.
one.
Sorry, yeah.
Bell made his first appearance last year, and then obviously Kyle Larson, the only past champion among this group.
Yeah, got that a little mixed up there, but yeah, tough championship four. All four guys are just very good at Phoenix. Larson obviously speaks for himself. He's got a great track record at Phoenix. One guy that actually surprised me, we were talking about it a little bit for the pod. Blaney is actually very good at Phoenix. It's pretty concerning, especially with the momentum after his Martinsville win. He pretty much dominated yesterday, but very good at Phoenix. 10 top tens and 15 starts, six top fives, 429 laps led, and just looking at it going in reverse. I mean, he finished second, finished fourth, finished 10th, finished sixth, and he qualified top 10 in every race since 2018. So he's very strong there. I think that's definitely going to be the guy to look out for at Phoenix, especially, like I said, with his momentum, from Martinsville. But yeah, all guys very good there. Byron, he's found some speed there as of late. He's obviously the defending winner, and Larson led over 200 laps in the last Phoenix race earlier this year. So and won the pole in that race. So it's definitely a stout field, and it's going to be crazy, but hopefully it works out for Larson.
Yeah, and obviously, lots to talk about regarding this race. Like you said, I think it's pretty obvious Ryan Blaney probably comes into this race of the four drivers carrying the most momentum into Phoenix. You talked about his stats at Phoenix, very good there. But I think you could make the argument that any of these four drivers, for different reasons, could be your championship favorite this year. I mean, you look at the stats up on the screen. Kyle Larson, he's led the most laps of any driver this year, this season. That's kind of hard to believe, I guess, for some, with his only four wins. Five counting the North Wilkesboro All Star race, but Kyle's had a fast car no matter where they have gone, on the short tracks, on the road courses, on the mile and a halfs especially. I mean, Kyle has made a good case for why he can win this. Obviously, was really good at Phoenix in the spring. Byron picking up the win there, but you know, even Christopher Bell. I mean, he's made a surge as of late. He's the only one of these four drivers to make the championship four in the next gen era. I know it's only been 2 years, but maybe a little bit of experience helps him out there by being there last year and running this championship four race, competing for a championship. And then obviously William Byron, I think pretty straightforward with him. He's been by far probably the most consistent of these four all season long. I think a lot of opportunities when Kyle Larson was unable to win a race, William Byron was there to pick up the pieces when it all fell apart. And in a race like this, sometimes that's what it comes down to. Who's the guy that can pick up all the pieces when it hits the fan for everybody else? And I think all these drivers have a legitimate shot to win on Sunday.
Yeah, and especially Blaney. I think I saw a stat. He was seated 12th, I believe it was. So if he won the championship this Sunday, he would be the highest seated driver to win the championship in history. So definitely recent surge from him. I mean, he had a great round of eight. We had our championship picks. He was actually, I think he was one of the guys that I had out first. So definitely very wrong there. He's been very good, and yeah, I think he's really the main guy. Like I said, that we got to look out for. I think he's kind of emerging as the favorite, but I mean Larson. I mean he's put together a pretty good round. I mean obviously, what won the first race in the round of eight. He had a ton of speed at Homestead. He probably should have won that race if not for the situation between Blaney and him on pit road, and probably didn't have a car capable of winning this weekend at Martinsville, but I mean, he still had speed, got a P6 finish, after that fuel only call, it set him up in a good spot to, be able to get a top 10. But Larson, I mean, all playoffs long, I mean, he's just had, good speed and the car's running strong. And really, there haven't really been any races that I can think of where he's just had like an awful car where he just really isn't in competition for top five or even the win. So, yeah, I'm confident for Larson going in, but Blaney is my guy that I think he's gonna have a hard time with.
Yeah, and obviously, this past weekend at Martinsville, it wasn't a pretty sight to see for Hendrick Motorsports. Kyle struggled really all day, and so did the rest of the bunch. I mean, Byron, it was not if you looked at the championship four or the point standings, I guess coming or the playoff standings coming into Martinsville, and you looked at it after the fact without watching the race and seeing the final four, you might have thought that it was a little bit of an uneventful weekend at Martinsville, but a lot of different storylines that kind of went on there. Truex obviously winning the pole. He started off the race really good and seemed like he could have something. He kind of faded back, and then it was Hamlin and Blaney, and Hamlin and Blaney maximized their points the entire day and really put Byron in a position where he was almost going to miss it or miss the championship four. I honestly, going into the race, didn't think that was going to be even really a possibility. I mean, he was up really good on the cut line. I think he was like 30 or 33 points above the cut line, and it got very sketchy very quick for William Byron. I mean, he was below the cut line most of the day. So for him to just sneak into the championship four over Hamlin, I think that was an accomplishment for him alone. But going back a little bit to the Hendrick Motorsports struggles at Martinsville, I want to, kind of maybe the bad news. I don't want it to be a trend going into Phoenix, but I think I texted you and said something about it yesterday. But Hendrick Motorsports was really, really good at Martinsville and really, really good at Richmond earlier in the season on those short tracks. And then when it came to the fall races at Richmond and Martinsville, the whole team really seemed to struggle. So, you know, Hendrick was really good at Phoenix earlier in the year. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue for Phoenix here this coming weekend.
Yeah, definitely rough this weekend. I mean, practice and qualifying it just didn't go well. Larson, he was obviously snuck in. He qualified fifth, but practice he didn't look too good. Elliott, he qualified 14th. Byron 16th. Bowman 22nd. So, yeah, just a rough day for the Hendrick guys. I was surprised Byron was able to stay ahead. I think he just had to maintain above 18th on the track near there at the end, and he advanced. But yeah, it was definitely crazy. I mean, Hamlin finished 8 points below the cut line. I thought something crazy was going to happen. I was surprised at that long green flag run, but yeah, as far as Hendrick goes, I hope it doesn't, trend that way. Larson, like I said, he's been good. He's had speed, so that's definitely a plus. Byron, I mean, he's been good. I mean, Martinsville is really one of his worst tracks, I guess, in the playoffs, and I don't know if that was his problem or Hendrick in total. I mean, like I said, the Hendrick cars were just pretty bad, so probably not his fault, but he was able to edge there at the end and get some valuable position and finish 13th. I know he got out of the car and he
Yeah.
was completely drenched. I mean, he was worn out. Got out of the car, sat down, poured water on his head. He was tired, so he definitely put in some work to get in, and I'm happy he got in. Not the biggest Hamlin fan, so kind of happy Hamlin missed the spot, but yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't end up like that. I think Elliott's still in the owners championship too, right?
I'm not sure if Elliot. I think Elliot actually got eliminated. So is he?
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not 100% sure on that. I thought that he had to win the race to pretty much advance in the owner standings. But I'm not 100% sure there. But obviously, like the three that are definitely locked in on the owner standings are Larson, Bell, and Blaney because they obviously won and clinched their way on the owner side of things. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Are you trying to verify that?
Yeah, yeah, he's in eighth. So it's Blaney, Bell, Larson, and Byron
On
in
the
the top
owners.
four. Yeah.
Okay, so both Final Four are the same. So that's nice. Nothing, no other storylines to follow there as far as that goes. Just looking at my notes here. Um, I think another thing, kind of talking about Phoenix a little bit, the emphasis on qualifying and that number one pit stall. I know Kyle Larson has talked about it in some of his interviews the past couple weeks discussing Phoenix, but this is going to be a big qualifying session on Saturday leading into the race. This week, actually, a split practice and qualifying schedule, so we don't see that very often. Practice will be on Friday night, I think like 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then Saturday qualifying will be like 4:30 Eastern time. So we'll get a full 3 day weekend of the NASCAR championship. But that qualifying session on Saturday is going to be probably one of the most important of the season because we saw it in 2021 with Kyle Larson and his championship. That pit crew got him off pit lane first on that final round of pit stops. And if we get in a similar situation like that this year, Dylan, I would feel really confident that this crew could get him off first.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. You said it was 8 o'clock Friday for practice.
Yeah, it's 8 p.m., I'm pretty sure.
That's kind of
Eastern
odd.
time.
The given the drastic track condition change, or why they would even practice that late. It's kind of strange. But when's the race at like 2 or 3 o'clock
I
in the
think
afternoon?
I think the race is 3 Eastern time. Obviously it's in Phoenix, so I don't know if 8 p.m. if it'll be dark. I'm assuming it'll be sunsetting
Yeah,
like
it'd be around
throughout
five
the
or so.
practice session at some point. So yeah, kind of is a little bit strange there. Maybe the practice session is more geared towards the end of the race conditions. Maybe something like that. I mean, either way, it's still a big difference of time from what the race is to the practice session. So I don't know if there's much to really tell from that, but nonetheless, practice on Friday and qualifying on Saturday.
Yeah, it's qualifying is definitely gonna be a big one. I mean, looking at all the drivers hit the Final Four, I mean, they all qualified in the race earlier in the spring, all qualified top 10. Larson, like I said, he got the pole. Byron, he qualified third. He won the race. Blaney qualified eighth. Bell qualified fifth. So, if that trend continues and it's anything like that spring race, it's definitely going to be close. Bell, he's a guy. I think he broke the playoff pole record or what earlier in the round. So Bell is insane at qualifying. That's gonna be kind of scary. Qualifies pretty good there, and yeah, it's just so close. These guys have just been so good in the playoffs. Byron and Lars specifically just good pretty much all year, and yeah, it's definitely gonna be a tough one for sure. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying's always interesting to watch, and I have an appreciation for the guys that can go out there and consistently just be a really good qualifier. I know drivers take a lot of pride in that type of deal. Going out there and just being really good at qualifying every single week. Bell is one of those guys that he just seems like no matter what the situation is, he's going to go out there and lay down a fast lap no matter what track it is. But going to be a big one on Saturday. I think when I look at this championship four, I think that one of the good things for me is that I honestly, we obviously root on Kyle Larson and we want Kyle to win the championship, and we think he, with in all honesty, has the best chance of winning it. I mean, we think he's the best driver uh, on, on planet Earth. I mean, Kyle's good, but this group of four is different than a lot of in years past. I think that if Kyle wasn't to win this race, if something happened, uh, any of these four are drivers that are all I like them a lot, Dylan. I don't know about you, but I know, with Bell's dirt racing, his past, I like Christopher Bell. Byron being a Hendrick Motorsports driver, I think he would be kind of my second pick behind Larson. I would hope he would be there to clean up the pieces if something were to go wrong. And then Ryan Blaney, I mean, he's just a guy it's hard not to like Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I mean, obviously everyone has the drivers they like and the drivers they dislike. I don't really have a problem with anyone. I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I mean, all these guys, they're pretty clean drivers. They're pretty drama free. There's really no huge incidents on the track that would paint them as, a dirty driver or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good group of guys, and like I said, it's the youngest Final Four, so that's definitely interesting. None of the vets are competing for a championship, which that's a little bit of a change of pace. But yeah, I mean, I like all these guys. If Larson doesn't win, if one of these guys win on any Sunday, I'm fine with it. I mean, they're all deserving, and whether or not it's a vow to their regular season success or their postseason success, they've all been really good in the postseason, and they're deserving to be here. I mean, it's not like some guy just got a crazy win at Martinsville and just snuck in, and they had a terrible round of eight. Like, I guess if like Busher won Martinsville, it'd be kind of crazy because he just had such a bad round of eight. He was like what -50 below the cut line, so it'd be kind of crazy. But yeah, all these guys are deserving, and it's going to be tough for sure. They're just a great group of drivers, and yeah, I just hope we get a good qualifying spot. Qualified on the pole there earlier, like I said, for third time now. But yeah, qualified there good there earlier, and had a super fast car, over 200 laps led. So I hope we can just keep that momentum. Um, you know, Continue that success from the spring race in Phoenix, and go out and get the second championship.
Absolutely, would be a good way to wrap up the season with the championship. Kyle obviously already a champion this year with the high limit sprint car series, but two championships in 1 year doesn't sound too bad. Gonna be a big one at Phoenix this Sunday. With that being said, the NASCAR season wrapping up, our podcast schedule kind of gonna start to change up a little bit for the rest of the year. Yeah, obviously next week we'll be back to recap the championship four race from Phoenix. We're looking forward to that one. Hopefully it's a Victory Monday podcast next week, and we're all pumped about a championship. But it's been a good year nonetheless, and we're looking forward to that one, and looking forward to the rest of the racing season. We know Kyle's got some dirt stuff coming up in the off season, and we'll try to have podcasts coming out on an as needed basis. If Kyle's racing, we'll be here to recap it. And yeah, Dylan, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just podcast. It's a little dry when he doesn't race the dirt. I mean, we're used all year with the high limit. Used to just recapping dirt in NASCAR, and feel kind of bad. There wasn't much happening in Martinsville today. I mean, there's really not too much to talk about. Just covering Phoenix, and pretty much been doing that for the past few weeks. So yeah, I mean that should pretty much wrap it up. I mean, really looking forward to Phoenix. Hope it ends on a good note, and hope to see Larson get that one, and then like you just said, race a few dirt races here at the end of the year. Hopefully that all tech race. I mean, I haven't been to a dirt race since I think January at Bubba Raceway. So it's been like a year since I've been to a dirt race, and yeah, hopefully he races that. That's about 2 hour drive or so for me at Alltech. So that's a big event, 100K prize. So yeah, hope Larson shows up to that. That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think you and I both, we talk about it all the time. We want to see some more late model stuff. We miss seeing the Rumley 6 car out there. So that's what I'm hoping for this off season before NASCAR gets kicked back off with the Clash and the Daytona 500 in February. I want to see a lot of late model races throughout December, January, and the start of February. But unless you had anything else, Dylan, I think that should pretty much wrap up today's show.
Yeah, that should pretty much be it. I mean, as always, thanks everyone for the support. Like Storage said, we're kind of gearing down at the end of the year. The page is going to be kind of dry on, all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So hopefully all the fans, you try to stay active throughout the year. We'll try to, get some posts here and there, but hopefully Kyle, continues racing a little bit, doesn't take too much of an off break. He doesn't tend to do that too much, but yeah, hopefully everyone just stays active and stay tuned in for next year. Really excited for next year. We usually, make up all the new formats and everything for next year. So, page is probably going to look a lot different as the years go. But yeah, thanks everyone for the support as always. And we'll see you next week to recap Phoenix.
Yep, absolutely. So if you're watching this on YouTube, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts for that matter, don't forget to follow our podcast so you don't miss a thing. We actually have a lot of listeners on Apple Podcasts. We haven't really checked the statistics on that in a little while, and I remember last week we were looking at that, and I was actually impressed. We have a pretty good following on Apple Podcasts. So if you're an Apple Podcast listener, shout out to you. We appreciate you listening to the podcast as well. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.